I'm gonna list 3 movie concepts for you and you have to guess which one is real. What if the swimming pool was evil? What if the Alexa was evil? What if the Ouija board was evil? Let's be honest, we all know they're all real movies. You probably even know that they're all Blumhouse movies. In the past year or so, the name Blumhouse has become heavily discussed, and not in a good way. But what is a Blumhouse movie? It's not anything they make, because I know people wouldn't be happy with me lumping Whiplash, Get Out, and BlacKkKlansman under the derogatory blanket term of Blumhouse movie. I believe I've got a pretty good idea, and I think I'm ready to share it. Before recording, I held the Chipotle cashier at gunpoint and read this entire video script to him. He said it was really good and to please just let him go, so I think I'm onto something here. This is going to be a multi-installment series I'm calling the Blumhouse Shitterverse. These first few videos are going to be part of Chapter 1. I'm calling these the It's Like Insert Nostalgic Movie, but in the horror genre. We're going to be looking at Happy Death Day, Freaky, and Totally Killer. See, one day the brilliant minds at Blumhouse thought they stumbled onto a unique concept of taking a popular movie's high concept and adding a serial killer. This resulted in Groundhog Day but with murder, Freaky Friday but with murder, and Back to the Future but with murder. If you're extremely charitable, you may be thinking, Jones, no one can own an idea. And that's true, but I feel like you're welcoming the criticism when you name your Freaky Friday ripoff Freaky. That's just taking half the title. What will the sequel be called? Friday? And when your Groundhog Day ripoff literally ends with a character saying, wow, this is just like the movie Groundhog Day, don't blame me. They welcomed this. They probably even wanted it. So let's get into the first movie, Happy Death Day. This movie is about a girl who was murdered on her birthday by a masked killer, causing her to wake up in the morning and relive the day. The only way to break the cycle is to live to see the end of the day. So essentially our protagonist is trapped in what seems like a never-ending loop of the same events until she goes insane. You can recreate this feeling at home by picking out 4 Blumhouse Shitterverse movies at random and playing them back to back. This movie follows a girl named Tree. She's played by Jessica Roth, who's actually funny and pretty likable. Maybe she'll be in a superhero movie one day. She can be Dazzler in X-Men, and she can use disco music to beat Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. I'm gonna draw my attention to my first complaint with this movie. It has a serious naming problem. This might seem superficial, but naming your movie and your characters is important. It's part of the branding. Think about some popular movies and characters: Star Wars, Jaws, 300, Mad Max, The Godfather, The Matrix, Han Solo, John Wick, Tony Stark, Marty McFly, James Bond. These names roll off the tongue and sound cool. Tell me it doesn't sound unnatural to say Happy Death Day and Tree Gelbman. The name Gelbman conjures up mental images of this. Your name needs to fit your character. Tree is supposed to be a generic sorority girl with a mean streak. Imagine if you were watching 007 for the first time and he sat down and said, the name's Sanders, Herbert Sanders. Your basic bitch should have a basic bitch last name, like Phillips. Back to the movie. The general concept is that Tree is a terrible person. She's rude, she thinks she's better than everyone, she has an affair with someone else. Basically, if you told ChatGPT to write a character based off Ariana Grande as a person. On her way to a sorority party, she's murdered by a guy in a baby mask, the baby being the school's mascot. This brings us to the movie's next branding issue, and one that will carry over to other Shitterverse films. Horrible killer design. Now, I admit capturing an iconic killer look isn't easy. Even Friday the 13th took 3 entries to get it right, but there are a couple notes you want to hit. Scary and cool. Here are some killer designs that captured both of these elements. Michael Myers, Leatherface, Ghostface, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Jigsaw, Art the Clown. Designing the killer's look is the job of the costume designer. The costume designer should want to create a look that people want to wear on Halloween. Take a look at the killer in this movie. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to find out that there was no costume designer on set, or that when it came to the killer design, the director just threw this together because he thought it was a good idea. There's zero effort here. I mean, it's a Party City plastic mask, black hoodie, and black pants. Yeah, I'll be honest, this has as much effort behind it as Dakota Johnson delivering her lines for Madam Web. No one wants to dress up as Baby Man for Halloween. After she's murdered, she wakes up that morning and has a slight feeling of deja vu. She ignores it and goes on with her day, being kind of weirded out but not freaking out too much. She's murdered once again. The next time she tries completely altering events and the killer still manages to get to her. All this time her dad has been calling her and is upset that she left him hanging at a dinner they had planned. We see her watching an exposition video that shows us that her mom and her shared the same birthday, but the mom passed away. Tree decides that she needs to confront this killer and takes full advantage of a life with no stakes. But it's almost astounding how in a movie that centers on reliving the same 24 hours over and over again, we learn nothing new by the end of it. An effective way to use a story device like this would be to gradually reveal more and more about the supporting characters and events. Let me show you what I mean. You take a scene, we see all the elements, the characters, the environment, and the premise. We see how this scene plays out the first time, then we revisit this scene multiple times and each time add a new stimulus. This gives us multiple new perspectives on the supporting characters. Maybe evil sorority girl can get some character development, or the weird roommate character. You know, you might think he's going to play a part in the story eventually, but no, he just gets used for an unexpected light fetish moment. At least I think that's what it is.
You naughty boy!
Everything in this movie plays out in uninteresting binary choices. Tree chooses the obvious rude dialogue options the first time, then the movie continues and she chooses the obvious good dialogue options, standing up for the girl being bullied, warning people the sprinklers are going to come on, ending the affair she's taking part in. It's not very indicative of real life. Very rarely are you presented with something as black and white as good or bad. There's often a lot of nuance, and a lot of times taking a nuanced approach can result in learning new things. I know this movie isn't trying to be a reflection of real life, but you're missing out on a lot of story potential when you do this. I am going to spoil the ending of the movie now. After a misdirect, we learn that the killer is Tree's roommate. We see her multiple times throughout the film, but each time her scene plays out the exact same. She gives Tree a cupcake, Tree rejects it, then leaves. Her character is given nothing more to do outside of this. When Tree realizes she's the killer, her motivation is explained as, "You slept with this guy I like." In reliving the same 24 hours like 20 plus times, this is never really hinted at or even alluded to. It comes completely out of left field because the screenwriter has no imagination for the scene outside of giving Tree a cupcake. Wait a minute. Who wrote this movie? Scott Lobdell? What are you doing here? Go back to writing comic books. The only revelation we receive on any character is that the guy who went on a date with Tree is in the closet. We learn this when we see him watching an adult film, but that doesn't necessarily make him gay. I've seen that one before too. There's a lot of artistic merit to it beyond just the huge vading penises. Quick fire thoughts. A character says cute Sigma boys.
Don't be too late or all the cute Sigma boys will be taken.
How do the rules work in this movie? At one point it's revealed that her body basically heals from her deaths and leaves scars, but in one kill she's kind of set on fire. Shouldn't she be covered in full body burn scars? At one point, her master plan to stop the serial killer she believes is targeting her is to go to the hospital he's at with no mask, hold a cop at knife point, take his gun, and execute the killer. Does she know what the law is? She ends up fighting the killer. The cop's gun only has 2 bullets for some reason, and she kills the killer, then is allowed to go home with no consequence. So yeah, that's Happy Death Day. I think it sets the tone for this category of Blumhouse shitterverse movies. Inoffensive, light popcorn watch. It doesn't take itself seriously, but feels like none of the creatives were actually trying. Almost like they all get a bonus if they don't really try. Alright, goodbye for now. Come back next time for Freaky It. That's the name of the movie, I'm sorry.